Hi, thanks for checking out my video. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, like and share if you like it and want to share it. My name's Seth, and today we're going to be talking about what happens when you have a Scorpio personality. This is a Scorpio Ascendant, a Scorpio Moon, a Scorpio Sun. Per usual, I put somewhere up here, somewhere, and down below, a link to what a personality placement means, what I'm doing here. If you don't understand, just click that link and it will explain it all. So let's get started with a Scorpio Ascendant. If you have a Scorpio Ascendant, the big key thing here is that it's about self-protection. Your Ascendant is kind of keeping guard over what happens and what's going on in your immediate environment and making sure that you are in control of what happens in your immediate environment at all times. Scorpio is the type of energy that really revolves around the idea of worth. And while its duality Taurus is more about the idea of value. Now, the difference is that value is about what you're gaining and worth is about what could happen if you lose it. Scorpio is very much about loss. Now, when you have that energy sitting on your Ascendant, everything that you do and everything that happens in your immediate environment, how you approach your immediate environment, how do you even view your immediate environment, it is all about the idea of what is worthwhile. If you were to lose what you're about to do in your immediate environment, if this was going to backfire, what it is that you're thinking about doing, how much are you going to lose, and was it worth doing it at all? What you're planning on doing once you make that calculation. That's what the Ascendant's all about. That really personifies the idea of a Scorpio Ascendant. Is what I'm about to do going to be worth the energy I'm about to expense on doing it? It's very calculative. It's very much about that idea of calculating emotional loss, emotional worth, what's happening right now, and can I make the best decision for this immediate thing? And it kind of puts a lot of pressure on that Scorpio Ascendant. They're kind of constantly needing to react very quickly and decide very quickly, is what I'm about to do or what's happening in my immediate environment, am I going to do something worthwhile? Is my reaction going to be worth the consequence? Because everything has a consequence, and that consequence could be positive or that consequence could be negative. But everything that you do has a consequence. Every action has a reaction. And Scorpio understand that. Scorpio Ascendants have to deal with that constantly. And it creates a lot of pressure, and that pressure creates a lot of intensity because at its core, Scorpio is a very nervous, scared energy, and that's why they need to protect themselves at all times, because they understand what could happen. They understand what pain is firsthand, and they understand it very much firsthand. So they do not want to recreate anything. They do not want to have to go through it again. So they will make sure that everything around them is set up so they don't have to. And that Scorpio Ascendant is very much going to personify that. How do Scorpio deal with things? How does Scorpio energy deal with things? Look at that Scorpio Ascendant and you'll see exactly what happens when Scorpio is put under pressure and they have to do things immediately, right here, right now. And that means that they get viewed as a little bit more cold. They get viewed as a little bit more cutthroat, because if they're making an immediate decision on, is this worthwhile, that means people are involved. And if you are not worth the energy that they are about to expense, that means you need to go, because things are happening quickly. Things are never stopping. Things are never slowing down. This is life. This is how I'm dealing with my life, my immediate environment. And if you are proving to not be worth a part of this immediate environment, then that means you have to go. That's how I deal with things. I'm a Scorpio Ascendant. You just gotta go. You gotta move. You gotta get out of here because I'm doing what I need to do. Maybe you will become a factor later, and maybe that will happen later, and I'll calculate that for later. But right now, what's happening right now, and what I need to deal with right now, get the fuck out of here. And that does contribute a lot to Scorpio's kind of stereotype of being cutthroat. That stereotype of being malicious, and it can go that way. And I mean, the Ascendant is the most impressionable side of what Scorpio is dealing with it sitting here, and everything needs to be filtered through it. That means if you have a lot of fire, that fire is going to need to be filtered through Scorpio. Scorpio's not going to change it completely, even though it does change a lot to fixed energy on your Ascendant. The energy behind it is getting manipulated a lot more than Scorpio is, but it's still fire energy that's being expressed. It's being filtered through Scorpio, but it's still fire energy. Just like if you had a lot of water, if you had a lot of earth, if you had a lot of air behind that Ascendant, it's still that air, that earth, that water energy being filtered through Scorpio. So it's impressionable. People are still going to feel that fire. People are still going to feel that earth. People are still going to feel that air, but it's going to be filtered through Scorpio, and they're going to perceive it a different way. They're going to perceive you a different way, because Scorpio is what's happening, and that intention of understanding what's worthwhile and making quick decisions based on worth is what they're going to see off of that interpretation, that first impression. Now, when you have Scorpio on your sun, things kind of change. You still have that idea of what's worthwhile, what's not, and making those decisions. But those things are not so immediate. It's more of a personal thing. It's more almost like a pride thing. They like the fact that they're so good at taking their time and deciding what's worthwhile and what's not. Where the Scorpio Ascendant is kind of pushed and forced, and they might resent their Scorpio energy a lot more than someone with a Scorpio Sun. Where the Scorpio Sun, they almost enjoy it, and they almost personify that negative idea of Scorpio kind of enjoying being mean, enjoying being malicious, or that idea that a Scorpio is mysterious when really they're just they're playing with knowledge and the idea of who knows what and how much knowledge am I putting out there, and is it worth saying this, and it might not be worth saying everything. It's very much that idea of worth, the energy that I'm about to put out, and the consequences that could come from me saying more than what I want to say, or saying any more than necessary. Is it going to be worth those consequences? If the answer is no, then you're just not going to know what's happening, and that's not mystery, that's manipulation. And then Scorpio Suns, they're very much that idea of looking at everything around them, looking at what they want out of the world, looking at their goals, looking at themselves, and saying, everything about me, let's break it down, and let's decide its worth. Me going out here and being pushed around, is that worth the consequences of being pushed around by people? No. More than likely that answer is going to be no. And they're going to decide what I need to do to get the respect that I feel I deserve, and to get what it is that I want out of the world in a way where I am not expending more than worth. So that's where you find that idea of that you can't really tag down a Scorpio who can't understand why they do the things that they do. You might not ever really understand what's happening with them inside their heads, inside their hearts. And it's because you're not playing smart. You're not thinking along the same lines as them. Start playing chess. Start understanding how Scorpio understands the world, and you see it's an idea of worth. If I move this pawn, is it going to be worth the consequences of everything that my opponent can do once I move this pawn here? That's how they think. So if you're thinking along the lines of worth, put yourselves in their shoes and think, what is worth them saying? What did they just lose by telling me this? What did they just lose by doing what I just watched them do? And what consequences are they prepared for? And what consequences are they not prepared for? Everything that a Scorpio doesn't say is a lot more important than what they do say. And the Scorpio Sun is really how you can watch that. And the Scorpio Sun is really the ones that really understand that that's what they're doing, and that's what's happening right now. Where Scorpio Ascendant and Scorpio Moon might not actually have that self-awareness. And it's a lot more planned. It's a lot more in control. They are a lot more in control. And this can really be said for a lot of Scorpio energy and masculine planets, like the Sun, like Mars, like Mercury at points, when Mercury can switch between them. When you see that masculine energy of Scorpio, you see a lot more self-awareness. You see a lot more ideas of that Scorpio being able to think ahead and know what they're doing, and actually plot and plan ahead based on worth. And they're loose enough that when the situation actually comes, that they can check themselves and say, all right, my determination of worth, is that still what's happening right now? Is my determination right, like the way I planned it? And then they can move ahead accordingly. But to understand a Scorpio, to be able to not feel as if you're overbeared by them or intimidated by them, it comes from your ability to judge worth as well. Your ability to bring up value, to bring up the worth of your actions, the worth of other consequences, and play the same game as them, or change the board even. But it's a little harder to do that with a Scorpio. It's more or less think of things like a chess game, and start intellectualizing your emotions, and start dealing with your emotions in a more intellectual way, and start deciding what needs to be sacrificed and what doesn't, and what are you willing to lose and what are you not, and understand that it's a lot more about protection than it is aggression or attacking or being in control. It's a lot more about protection of their heart, their whole, their king in this chess game. Now, when you look at the Scorpio moon, you're really getting a glimpse into their heart, that king in this chess game. You're getting a glimpse into what drives them to protect themselves. You're getting a glimpse of that fear. You're getting a glimpse of that pain. Their wound is now kind of out in the open. It's having a Scorpio moon is almost like having a second Chiron placement. There's something that they need to work through. There's something that is very personal, something that is very sensitive, and it's being exposed, and they have to use it. They have to utilize that exposure in some way, or else they can't get what they want out of life, because their moon is just going to keep forcing them to hesitate, hold in, stay in, when they really need to explore, expose, be proud of these scars, these things that can be interpreted as negative, or these things that make them a little bit more vulnerable, and really redefine what's worth vulnerability, what's worth exposure, what's worth experimentation. And these Scorpio people, these Scorpio moons, they tend to be a little bit warmer. And even though they can go the other direction and try to be more controlling to protect themselves, but there's way too much to have to protect when Scorpio is in your moon sign. So they end up learning a lot faster than other Scorpio placements that I'm better off just being a little bit more vulnerable. I'm better off just expressing what I feel a little bit more and just saying it and just getting it out there, because it's not worth it to hold it in. It's not worth it to hurt myself. It's not worth it to hurt the people around me that I love, to hold this in. And then you find a little bit more, they're a little bit more inclined to be a mature type of Scorpio. And I mean, there's still a lot of work for them to do. There's still a lot for them to understand why it's worth being vulnerable. Why is it worth me taking a punch every once in a while? Why is it I'm the one who always has to take the punch in a group or within the people that I surround myself with? But that's something where they need a lot more support than criticizing or karma. They just need support so they can understand their own karma. Where a Scorpio sun, a Scorpio ascendant, they run into people that are karmic that will kick their ass because that's what they deserve, because they're not getting it. Where Scorpio moon, they need people around them who can understand them, who can take the darkness, who understand their darkness because they have their own darkness, and we can all support each other and keep each other healthy because we all know what it means to not be. And that's not always the case. Scorpio sun, Scorpio ascendants, they have to learn that they need that. Whereas Scorpio moon, they come into this world understanding that that's what they need, because the people that were supposed to support them never did. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting to see Scorpio in these placements. I could sit down and talk about Scorpio everywhere and get somewhere deep with it. And I think that's what Scorpio is really about. But I think it's that idea of protection, and all the other shit, it's kind of self-created. Scorpio created everything else outside of the idea of them protecting themselves, protecting their fears, protecting their wounds. That's really what they're about. Protection, protecting something. This whole game, this whole chess game, all these other pieces, everything, the board, the rules, everything was created by Scorpio to protect this king. This king is there for a reason. And that's what it's all about. That's Scorpio's whole game, protect this king. And they will fool you into thinking everything else is just as important, but they're lying. And you're going to have to capture that king to figure it out. And that means you're going to have to play chess with them. And that's Scorpio in a nutshell, really. Let's talk about Scorpio when it's mixed in with other placements, understanding Scorpio for yourselves when you see it in other places in the personality. Now, let's say someone has a fire ascendant, Scorpio sun, and a fire moon. Let's take this to an extreme. Now, this forces the personality to be a lot more open. It needs to be open. There needs to be a way for expression. There needs to be a way for spirit to be personified through this person. And with their Scorpio sun being in the middle, what's holding everything together, the sun is what holds everything together in the personality. So when the sun is there and it's protective and it's reclusive and it's a little bit more calculated, that person needs to kind of direct their energy, fire off their energy in the right places. And that means that there's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of mistakes that need to be made. And Scorpio doesn't really like mistakes. Scorpio doesn't mind mistakes. They can understand mistakes. They can understand miscalculations. But they don't necessarily like them because it fucks up their whole rhythm, especially when it's in the sun. It fucks up their whole rhythm. They're going to have to replot out these certain steps that were plotted out beforehand and reorganize everything to suit the fact that they fucked up here. And that means someone knows now where they fucked up. Other people know what's going on. They're going to have to keep tabs on what's happening. And you may get this extreme where they become extremely reclusive and their fire gets ended up put into these very dynamic wounds, these very dynamic ways of pain, where they indulge in pain, they indulge in psychosis and misunderstanding, they indulge in the negative, and that's how they deal with mistakes, and they just keep making mistakes because it creates this collage where people can see and hear and understand and feel everything that's coming off of them, but they don't get to come in unless you're just as broken and just as pieced together as they are with all this damage. You're not going to be able to come in. So if they create exactly what they need to create, and they get to exude everything they want to exude, but they did it through negativity. They did it through abuse of others, abuse of themselves. They did it through harming themselves, either that be physically or emotionally, or a mix of the two, like through abuse and other things of that nature. Or they can go the other way, where they learn to well, really they're going to go through that negative side, but they come out of it, and they move towards the positive, and they understand that they can let people in through expression. They can do it just like they did through the negative sides, but gain something out of it. Make what they're doing worthwhile. Say, I'm going to make music. I'm going to dance. I'm going to express what it is that I need to express through focus and through the betterment of myself, through the bettering of my skills, and express myself through these skills. And people get to be let in as long as they understand my skills, as long as they understand what I'm presenting to them. But it never needs to go farther than that. And they all get to have their own personal interpretations, and I get to have a release, and I get to have the positive consequences of doing things that I love and expressing what it is that I feel without ever having to really own up to them, to never really have to explain myself unless I feel it's necessary, unless I feel it's worthwhile. And that's a very positive way of doing that. And you can find very beautifully expressive people with a personality set up like this, personality placements set up like this. So yeah, that's a Scorpio personality. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching until the end. Be sure to find me on Facebook or Twitter if you want to have a dialogue with me. I'm not very good at keeping up at YouTube comments. You can keep throwing them up there, but you're way better off. Hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on Twitter. Make sure that you like this video if you like it, and share this video if you feel like other people need to see it. That's what you do, right? And subscribe, because you never know if I'll be talking about you next. Thanks for watching.
Somewhere in the corner under clouds of marijuana with this boy who's hollering, I